Disney to the max, and you're watching Disney Channel. Now that's rock and roll.
Let's go!
In the daytime, I'm Marinette, just a normal girl with a normal life. But there's something about me that no one knows yet, 'cause I've got a secret. Miraculous, simply the best, up to the best when things go wrong. Miraculous, the luckiest, the power of love always so strong. Miraculous, miraculous.
Hi everyone! This is Lifeline here, and welcome back to my channel. Hi everyone! My name is Kimberly.
Hey everyone, this is Ladybug Phoenix.
So let's get the show on the road! Last time we spoke about Miraculous Season 5 being dark, and now we have other characters to talk about that is Redeemable. 5 characters from Yu-Gi-Oh! Because we actually had done the review series on the first series of Yu-Gi-Oh! So that way, we'll make sure that things get a lot more easier. And let's go over the characters that most of you have seen from the Chloe videos. But for now, let's give out a brief recap, starting with Anakin for Cure Finale.
Ah, spoiler alert!
For Anakin Skywalker, what Anakin needed was someone to believe in him with no strings attached. And he got that in his son, Luke Skywalker, and Anakin saved Luke and ended Palpatine's tyranny for a few decades and went out on his own terms. Anakin's redemption was an extremely satisfying conclusion to his arc. For Kevin 11, he was stuck in his mutated form in Alien Force because of the Omnitrix. And after the Omnitrix has been self-destructed, he was returned back to normal. Discord, on the other hand, had a very good redemption, all thanks to Fluttershy, who represented kindness. For Pure Passion, or Sabrina, when Cure Peach and Ease were having their conflict, Sabrina reveals her human form and identity and breaks the Clover necklace. And after that battle, E's body dies due to her life being offered, and she, however, is saved by the Akuron, giving her a new form, Pure Passion. Although Lauren accepts her immediately, she walks away, conflicted on what to do. And Pure Passion, later on, uses Happiness Hurricane to purify the Nakewameke, and Lauren's mother offers to let Sabrina stay in their house, to which she accepts. With the Princess Cures, along with Sky, arrived at Hope Kingdom, and Twilight greeted them, and Sky recognized her as Twyla and tried to talk to her. But she does not remember him and wants to destroy them. Using a Dark Princess perfume, she becomes the Black Princess and she nearly defeats the Cures and Sky. But Flora continued to fight back, still believing that the real her was deep inside in a curious Trinity explosion in an attempt to purify her. With the help of Sky's violin playing, for some reason, it reawakened her memories, and Twyla was freed from Despier's control, and the Cures, along with the weakened Twyla, then escaped Hope Kingdom, with Sky staying behind to fend off an enraged Despier. Marlena, on the other hand, assumes that the growth of the heart and having memories have triggered a bug in her circuitry and wants to cease contacting with Curiel, as she believes that the perfect world in her mind would fall apart and more pain would be inflicted. But Yell ends her battle by telling the love of herself to Marlena, causing the dimension to fade away, and she collapses on the ground. After being kindly patted on the head by Hugtan, Marlena finally cries for the first time, and as she calms down, she gains her free will and revs against Papal, ordering her former boss to leave. She is then being reassured by the Cures that she might have not have found a bug inside of her and is forgiven, as Katrina embraced her with re-acceptance.
Cosette was given an evil counterpart, Black Lady. But when she heard about Serapuno's death, her earrings has shattered and caused her change back to Chibiusa.
Don't forget about Amy, who is the most recent from Delicious Party Pretty Cure. She was brainwashed by the enemies, and for some reason, after she was reformed and taking the cure side, she actually fainted and had to be in recovery before she could even transform into Cure Finale.
After Serena Octavius the fairy notes and shattered the notes, Mephisto and Fates came to town and set up the stage to perform the Melody of Sorrow. Aphrodite speaks with Holly and Kristen.
After Izuku left UA in order to face All for One alone, as well as to protect his friends and family from danger, Katsuki, along with his classmates, departed from school in order to bring him back, following in battle to get Deku to come to his senses. Bakugo genuinely apologizes to the former for his actions while calling Deku his first name, displaying his regret over trying to usurp Deku's strengths by putting him down and for bullying him in the past. And it proves that Bakugo is repentant for his own faults, and him willing to face him in order to atone for his past actions, and now seeing Deku as a true ally, friend, and rival figure. Fleisch, a young maiden they encountered on the Great Bridge of Mitrin, appears on the battlefield and manages to wound Dimitri with her sword, and before she can land the final blow, Rodriguez shields Dimitri, which allows Violet to kill her, and Rodriguez's sacrifice reawakens Dimitri's conscience, and he realizes that his lust for vengeance has not only consumed himself, but affected others as well. And Rodriguez absolves him of any responsibility for his death and tells Dimitri that he should live for his ideals rather than stay shackled by ghosts of the past. With his dying breath, Rodriguez remarks that Dimitri resembles his late father Lambert. As a heavy downpour begins to fall, Violet offers their hand to Dimitri and promises that they will continue to guide him. And the other Blue Lions also vowed to continue fighting alongside him. This is a pretty good example for a Fire Emblem character to make some redemption. As for Patroclus, he met someone at a bazaar in Istanbul, and her name was Setsuka, and she was a master of battle-style shelf-based sword attacks. And known as Neve to those around her, Setsuka has been taking in orphans and teaching them how to defend themselves. And upon seeing her lightning-fast sword techniques, Patroclus begged her to teach him. She agreed and allowed him to join the orphans for her training. And driven by his single-minded lust for vengeance, Patroclus learned at a surprisingly fast pace, but his teacher expressed little joy at his progress. Setsuka had once lived for revenge herself, but she admonished him not to lose his heart, such dark desires, and young and brash, Patroclus took umbrage at her words and turned his back on his teacher. Looking back on it now, Patroclus realizes that the woman he spurned may have been the closest thing he'd ever had as a mother. What he'd run away was not Setsuka, but his own heart. Clenching the transformed spirit sword tightly, Patroclus swore a solemn vow: "I shall run no more." And, in addition, after this, Patroclus redeemed himself and saved Pyrrha from her soul edge curse. Orochimaru redeemed himself by bringing back the 3 Hokages that couldn't have been brought back by Kabuto. Sasuke, on the other hand, released Suigetsu Hazuki from the tank. He was kept stored in and invites him to join a team he's forming, and when he explains that he's dealt with Orochimaru, Suigetsu tests his abilities to make sure his victory wasn't a fluke, and satisfied, agrees to join him. They traveled to a hideout to recruit Karin and release the prisoners kept there so that she wouldn't have any other commitments. However, Karin refuses to join their team but claims that she is going to be in the same direction as they are. And they visit another hideout to recruit Jugo, the origin of Orochimaru's cursed seals. And as they approach, they are confronted by a horde of escaped cursed seal recipients, but they easily deal them all. Although they locate Jugo easily enough in his cell, he is unwilling to go with them, afraid that it'll kill them in a violent rage. When Sasuke demonstrates that he can keep Jugo's rage under control, he agrees to go with him. Rin is a lone wolf who prefers to depend on herself and herself only, and is determined to find a way to break the curse without help or interference from anyone. And behind her uncaring and aloof front, however, Rin is deeply loyal and passionately emotional, and is tremendously self-sacrificing and selfless, as her entire reason to breaking the curse is to free Haru and find his true happiness, even if it would mean she would be left with nothing in her hands. And although initially Rin appears to dislike kind-hearted people, and in reality, she respects them deeply, but believes their compassion makes them gullible and unable to protect themselves, and thus doesn't even want them to get hurt or suffer. She also likes kind people who remind herself how weak she is and how badly she craves acceptance from those kinds of people who can depend on and cling to. But exactly because of that, she avoids kind people since she is unwilling to let herself become a burden. However, as time goes on, she begins opening up more, especially after she breaks down in tears in front of both Toru and Haru on 2 different occasions.
Once they return to the digital world, many of the Digidestined's friends sacrifice themselves to save them from the Dark Masters. Mimi is deeply saddened by these deaths, to the point where she alone feels she can no longer fight. And Joe decides to be the one to stay with her so she wouldn't even have a chance to be alone.
Once they are alone, they encounter the wounded Ogremon, and Mimi asks Joe to give him the medical aid. With the newly evolved Metallimon attacks them, their friend Leomon comes to their aid, as Saber Leomon, however, in a later battle against Metallimon, Saber Leomon is gravely injured, though he helps Zudomon defeat the enemy before he perishes, and now realizing that she has to fight and help prevent more friends from dying, Mimi decides to gather all of their Digimon friends to help them in the final battle against Piedmon.
Queen Nehelenia was discovered by Sailor Galaxia, who released her from her mirror and took advantage of jealousy and venom towards the Silver Millennium to awaken the spirit of Sailor Saturn deep within Hotaru Tomoe. Once released from her mirror's silence, Nehelenia gradually corrupted Mamoru with a shard stuck in his eye. This caused the other Super Sailor Guardians to try and fight her off, but was defeated one by one. Only, eventually Usagi was left untransformed and she learns about her past. Despite Nehelenia's attempts to make her hate her so she can destroy her, Usagi refuses to hate her and instead forgives her for her actions of vengeance. Nehelenia was finally able to realize the true friendship and kindness she never even had. So her change of heart that liberated Mamoru from the mirror fragment and frees the other 8 Super Sailor Guardians trapped in the mirrors. Usagi then transforms into Eternal Sailor Moon, and using the vastly strong healing powers of the Eternal Tiare, she was able to thaw Queen Nehelenia's ice-cold heart and give her a second chance at a new life. Thinking it was all just a dream, her child form wakes up in front of her subjects and tells her that she was merely sleeping. Before she leaves to rest, she asks anyone will read her a bedtime story, and one of the subjects agrees, and the reborn Nehelenia smiles in appreciation.
Shortly after, Demande was attempting to hypnotize Sailor Moon so he could rule the universe with her by his side as queen and was about to kiss her, but Tuxedo Mask comes and rescues her. Later, he hypnotizes Sailor Moon once more and nearly succeeds in winning her, but then she remembers her friends Mamoru and escapes Demande's hypnotic powers. She was able to warn him about Wiseman's deception. Enraged, he turns on him up, learning that he had killed Saphir in trying to warn him about the treachery. When Wiseman directed to 2 dark energy blades at Sailor Moon, Demande jumped in front of her and took the hit, and died as a result of the injury. However, he was able to damage Wiseman, shattering his arms, but Wiseman came back together. Before his death, Demande was able to tell Sailor Moon his true feelings for her. He did love her as a person, and to make amends for ever trusting Wiseman, he defended Sailor Moon from Death Phantom. Unfortunately, Wiseman's power was too much for him after he was vaporized. Before it happened, the man looked up at Sailor Moon and called her queen.
Dead! not a big surprise.
This is a reference to Krillin's death in a Namek saga in DBZ. We didn't mention the full title, Mina. We promise. For some reason, when Zoe tries to reach Deep Blue space, Sardan goes after her, but Tarb protects her and is killed by Sardan. And Zoe reaches the room with the Mew Aqua just as Deep Blue does and attacks. Sardan appears and pretends he is going to kill Mew Ichigo, but instead teleports in front of the Deep Blue and tries to attack, and Deep Blue dodges the attack and kills him. And Sardan dies in Zoe's arms as she cries, which was very sad. Before Deep Blue dies, he tells Zoe he wanted to save the Earth and that he loves her. And with Deep Blue's death, the Mew Aqua is released, healing the destroyed city, the Mimi's wounds, and reviving the dead aliens. Mark's body is returned to normal. Unwilling to let him die, Zoe kisses him and gives him all of her power. Mark awakens to find Zoe lying beside him dead. The other Mimis teleport into the base and begin crying over her death. They suddenly return to their normal forms as the base starts to fall apart. Dren appears with the last of the Mew Aqua. Tarb and Sardan also come to, and they thank the girls before teleporting them safely to the ground. And the three destroy the base to prevent it from falling in the city. Then they leave to return to their world. Mark kisses Zoe. She de-transforms and wakes up to everyone's delight. The girls believe that they lost their powers permanently, but only to discover that they faded temporarily, and we are told that they have a new enemy.
About Penny, she returns with Bianco to stop Zatch and company from reaching the moat, but decides to move aside after everyone tells them their wrongdoings, as well as seeing Lila struggle with leaving the Moonlight. When Zatch and his allies appear hopeless fighting the Force Supreme Mamoto, she and Bianco finally turn against their master, with Penny destroying the sustaining Moonstone by assisting the enemy with her, so Gyaku, while her book is burned. Her final wish is being sent back is for Zatch and the others to forgive and play with Bianca when they return to the Mamoto world, which they agreed to. And Zatch also forgives Penny for her actions. Also, from the Zatch Bell review, Penny's English voice actor Stephanie Shea said that Penny's angry voice was fun but very difficult. She claimed to have done many takes to get it right, most of which involved changing the depth of her voice tone. And she also claimed that there were no modifications for the angry tone. It was all purely her. She also suffered vocal nodules and lost her voice on one occasion. So yeah, much like the others in the main video, Stephanie was also the victim of the vocal nodules of death. Adult, when Sophus first met Coco at her village, right before the day that her acceptance letter to a local, prestigious university arrived. He told her about the battle for Mamoto King and offered the book to her as his partner. But she refused his offer, as she wasn't interested in the power of glory. Sophus then used the hidden pain and suffering to brainwash her and turn her into the ideal partner for him. One that enjoyed others' pain as much as he did. Together they burned down Coco's village and killed her parents and the people around her.
Dead, not a big surprise.
A few moments later.
Coco was then taken to a general hospital in France. After awakening, she was told a cover-up story that her village was attacked by an evil person. She fainted from shock and was left unconscious for several months. Cherry then met with her, and after telling Coco that she submitted a leave of absence and that Coco would go to college when she got out of the hospital, and that the evil person that attacked her village was gone forever. Coco confronted Cherry, asking if Cherry had saved her once again.
Coco admits that even though she didn't remember anything, she knew that Cherry saved her from the evil one because she had always saved her and helped her through hard times, even though Cherry was suffering a great deal more.
Coco thanked Cherry for this, and the two friends tearfully embrace each other. She is now in college and is now beginning her brand new life.
As for Kimberly, deep down she's jealous of Ilana and begins to fall for Octus. In Lessons in Love, Kimmy shows that she is having trouble in math, so she forces Isaac to help her. attempting many times through the episode to make him do it for her. All of them which fail. Newton encourages her to try, and to go beyond her social boundaries. Never having been treated like this by someone before, she decides to fall for Newton and even kisses him. She passes her math exam with an A, and the episode ends with Kimmy walking with Newton to their next classes holding hands, indicating that they are possibly dating. By the time the Ballad of Scary Mary, aka the Halloween episode, she has apparently went out with Newton a few times and manages to convince her stuck-up friends to accept their relationship with him. Great job, sis! For Jin Kazama, he literally started World War III and utilized his elite military unit, the Tekken Force, to carry out convert missions in order to engulf the world in chaos. By doing so, he rendered most countries' military power useless and seized control of energy resources, such as oil fields and space colonies. With his newfound power, he declared independence and waged war against the rest of the world.
Eventually,
awakening from his coma after Heihachi has been killed by Kazuya, Jin approaches Larsley and Elisa on the rooftop and agrees to help them take down Kazuya, who is still continuing the war despite his victory. Jin says that he is now the only one who can stop his father due to the devil's blood that runs through his veins. And he is prepared to destroy Kazuya and end the cursed Mishima bloodline once and for all. He's going to atone his sins in Tekken 8. The Spectre sisters often bicker among themselves and try to impress Crimson Rubius, trying to outdo one another, and at one point, Pets was even prepared to eliminate her sisters, whom she reviewed as traitor. Eventually, around the time, Rubius decided to kick them out. Each of the Spectre sisters wished to be purified from the effects of the malefic black crystal and become good people. They were healed by Sailor Moon using Moon Crystal power. Afterwards, they ran a cosmetic shop. In the hospital, Shark reflected on what he had learned after his duel with Chironex, especially about he and Rhea were supposedly killed in a car crash. When he turned around, he was shocked to see Yuma, who called him Nash and told him it was time to realize his identity. Shark and his comatose sister were transported back to the Number Ruins by Dumont and has experienced more memories of his past life. After Yuma and Astro's duel, Shark, sister, and the other emperors were revived by the power of the Numeron Code, continued to attend Heartland Academy with Rhea. Upon learning of a new crisis in the Afterworld, he outjoined Yuma and headed there to help Astral. As for Prince Zuko, during the final battle with his sister, Zuko solidifies his redemption by sacrificing himself for the Avatar's friend, Katara, which allows her to defeat Azula. As for what happened to Karina, well, after arguing with Zoe on the mission, and the reason the cafe is that the girls have a home base, one that acts as a cover for their operations, which causes Karina to punch a tray. Elliot stopped the duo from fighting and remained civil after the Blue Aqua explanation and a date with Mark. And Kiki smells Zoe and Karina decides to blame her instead of the...
Are you serious?
It was at this moment when Renee showed up, and then...
Why don't you drop it?
Wait! Karina! Come back!
Alright, we apologize for that. Anyway, Akito then walks to Shigura's home and finds Toru alone outside. Unbeknownst to her, Toru is not exactly in the best emotional state after her last talk with Kyo, where he explained to her how her mother died and the part he had on it. And before, she told him that she loved him and being refused by him over his guilt. Akito then comments that Toru must be happy because she won and had in the process destroyed only the life she had known. Akito then threatened Toru with a knife, but Toru, realizing that both she and Akito had been trying to hold on to an unchanging reality, seeing Akito clinging to the eternal bonds of the Zodiac, and Toru wanting her mother to always be first in her heart, told Akito that she understood how scary it was to be alone, and instead offered her a hand in friendship, even introducing herself as if they never met before. Akito extended her hand, seemingly to accept the offer, but right before she could the unstable cliff ground collapsed and Toru fell. In the first volume of the series, just after a landslide destroyed Toru's tent, Shigure warned her that the ground around the area was unstable and due to collapse again one day. This is actually a reference to the Mishima Cliffs. Katsuhiro, Kodata, Michael, Murray, Taylor Glass, if you're watching this.
Coincidence? I think not!
At the sight of her newfound friend falling to what could be her death rather than gloating or anything similar, Akito screamed to get help for Toru, ultimately collapsing in tears in Shigure's arms. When the hospitalized Toru recovered from the hospital and was finally allowed visitors to be on her immediate family, Akito was surprisingly the first one to visit. And more surprisingly, according to Hattori and Shigure, she went alone and entirely on her own accord. Fearful that she would be rejected by Toru and Kureno, both of whom she'd hurt emotionally and physically, Akito was told a comforting story by Wamiji, who was offered advice that made it possible for Akito to see Toru and Kureno for who they really are. People whose kindness for others overrides their ability to be concerned about themselves. With that in mind, she finally went to see Toru, who offered her hand, despite that her arm was injured, to Akito in friendship again, which she accepted a small smile. This is similar to Princess Helenia in Sailor Moon Classic Sailor Stars, the final chapter. Great work, sis! Now it's my turn. Speaking of Akito, Stabby got brainwashed by a dark McCardamal named Garyon. He abandoned Dina and went on his own. This is a reference to Doki Pretty Cure, when Regina rejected Maya in the cure, but Dina freed him from mind control. Thank you, sis. Back to me. Baton pass! Now, about Regina, she left her father. She became worried and had thoughts of being bad once more. But Maya said not to worry. She then invited her to come to her house. She ate with Maya's family and saw that Maya's family was kind. Regina was elated to eat with her family, but at the same time, she felt a curious pain in her heart. While they were in Maya's bedroom, they talked about her father, the king mercenaire. Then at bedtime, Maya and Regina slept together. The next day, Regina and the others went to the beach and played together. After they did fun things, the trio suddenly came to attack the Cures to take back Regina. Then, an illusion of the king suddenly came and engulfed her inside a black tornado to have a chat with her. He wanted her to come back to him and break all her bonds with the Cures. Regina rejects initially, but continues about all the pain she felt was caused by the Cures. She still does not buy into it. So the king zaps her dark lightning, turning her heart black with selfishness once more. Her usual red and black colors gave her outfit turned to a black and purple one. The Cures noticed her change in appearance and realized that King Mercenaire was controlling her. After discovering that she not only loves her father but her friends, Regina teams up with the Pretty Cure in order to save her father, who is trapped inside of the heart of King Mercenaire. Together with her biological sisters, Natalie Miller and Dina, Regina was able to help the king regain his love and free him. But before the Pretty Cure can celebrate, Vel arrives and absorbs the remaining evil of King Mercenaire.
Did you know that?
Regina is very similar to Sasuke, Uchiha from Naruto. They started out as good and have a special relationship with the main protagonist, and which caused them to feel love. At some point, they turn evil when the villains offer her powers. They even have the same color of skin, red eyes and purple clothing. They also wield a sharp weapon, knives and swords respectively. Just as they were about to be redeemed after the revelation of their origin, they weren't redeemed yet, but it looks like it took them to finally redeem in the final episode during their final battle with the main protagonist.
Now you know!
Now it's my turn. Tomoya met me, but He does not remember that we were once good friends when he entered the library and found me sitting on the floor barefoot, reading books with scissors in my hand, acting oddly with Tomoya. And after several meetings with me, Tomoya started skipping the 4th period to spend time with me in the library. And I soon decided to join the drama club. But just when I start to open up to everyone, a bus accident caused me to break down in front of everyone and I had to go home for that. So I returned home. So Tomoya visited me in my house and I discovered that he and I were childhood friends, but we lost contact with each other after my parents died in a plane crash. And not wanting to feel the pain of losing someone important anymore, I asked Tomoya if I could be alone. So, wanting to bring me away from my past, Tomoya decided to renovate my garden. One of the drama club members decided to gift me a violin. Well, it was unfortunately destroyed, and after renovating my garden, I adhered to Tomoya. And after some conversation, he brings me out of my house. And the next day, my guardian presents me my parents' briefcase that has traveled all the way to Japan. And inside was a cute teddy bear and a testimony, asking me to live the way I want to grow to be an adult. And I realized I am still being loved by my parents even after their death, and I break down in tears. I become more mature, and the drama club members finally give me a violin for this. Later on, I moved to America to further my studies. However, I occasionally visit Tomoya and the others, and I attended a reunion party with Tomoya and the other girls. And I was very interested in what my parents were studying before they died, which is a theory of the parallel world. So, I tell Tomoya, Nagisa, Ro, Kyo, and Yohei about the story while they visit Nagisa who was pregnant with their child, Yukio. I was last seen driving in my Volkswagen, presumably in the United States of America, judging by the side of the road I was driving on. Thank you, Futomi. Now we'll take a look at my past.
Let's burn this place to the ground!
What follows is a brief flashback.
I don't want to hear it! You've been jealous of him from the day he was born!
I've worried that might be the case for a while. I don't think you should live here anymore.
It'll be better for you this way.
Yes, this is for your sake.
You'll feel more comfortable on your own.
So, about this rumor...
Go away! Get out!
So what? You came here to play housekeeper? Maybe you wanted to ask me about the things those girls said before. Is that it? Think what you want. Believe them. Or not. I don't care. My parents didn't believe me. No one did. I'm done trying to convince people. What's the point?
Yes. Yes. It scares me. My whole life, I was so nervous. The tiniest misstep and she'd be furious. Like I was walking a tightrope that grew thinner every day. Perfection is terrifying, suffocating. I can't stand it. I tried though. I did my best to be what they wanted me to be. But now, there's my little brother. So
What? Why would you say something like that? You think I'm boring? I did everything you told me to, though. I worked hard to be perfect, like you said. No, that's not what I needed you to say. I did everything I could, and this is what you tell me? I'm something that went wrong. If I'm a mistake, what do I do now? Where do I go from here?
Sometime later.
It was cold. And I was worried about my brother. I just didn't want him to get sick, you know? So I went to cover him with a blanket. What are you doing? I wasn't trying to hurt him. But they...
Mom! Dad! Please, listen!
I don't want to hear it!
I've worried this might be the case for a while. I don't think you should live here anymore.
It'll be better for you this way.
Yes, this is for your sake.
You'll feel more comfortable on your own. I couldn't get them to understand. I tried. They'd already made up their minds. I just wanted to keep them warm.
Starlight Glimmer was a filly. Her best friend, Sunburst, earned his cutie mark and left for Canterlot, leaving a young Starlight without a friend and a fear of losing potential future friends. So, she decided to make every pony become equal. But it all backfired, and because of it, Starlight created numerous alternate futures in which Equestria falls into ruin. So Twilight brings Starlight with her to one future in order to show her the consequences of her actions. At first, she refuses to accept the truth, but then decided to bargain with Twilight, and she decides to allow the rainboom to occur, restoring the present day. And realizing the error of her ways, Starlight Glimmer accepts whatever punishment that Twilight and her friends give her. Instead of a punishment, they decide to teach Starlight about the magic of friendship, and she feels reinvigorated with a new life that's inside of her. As for Diamond Tiara, she was running against Pipsqueak for class president, but when she loses, she is berated by her mother, and after the Crusaders spy on her, they invite her to the clubhouse. Upon hearing Pipsqueak revealed that there is not enough money in the budget to repair the school playground, she runs off to the school to seemingly call out Pipsqueak and reclaim her place as class president. So, the spoiled rich berates her once more, and Diamond Tiara stands up to her mother and has her pass a note along to her father. And her father provides enough money to repair the school playground, and she helps guide the other foals in fixing it. In the end, she is the first one to comment on the Cutie Mark Crusaders' new cutie marks, calling them amazing.
Riku was approached by Ansem, and he opens his heart to the darkness, allowing Ansem to linger within his heart, and he steps into the corridor of darkness, and he awakens sometime later in the Rising Falls. He is greeted by Maleficent, given a room to stay in, and is gifted with the Soul Eater Blade. In exchange for Riku's cooperation in gathering the princesses of the heart, Maleficent agrees to find Kairi and bring her to him. And during this time, Riku comes to possess a blade of darkness, like I said earlier, was the Soul Eater. So, he takes possession of Sora's Keyblade in a few moments before giving it back to Sora, much to his shock. And then he suddenly leaves. They won't meet again until Monstro, intending to use Pinocchio to help him find a way to save Kairi's heart. However, Pinocchio is captured by the parasite cage. And once he was rescued, Riku kidnaps Pinocchio and is pursued by Sora, Donald, and Goofy into Monstro's stomach. And for some reason, in Holobation, Sora again meets Riku, stopping him from taking down the wounded beast. Riku and Sora then talk briefly. Then they talk about the forcibly summons the Keyblade away from him, telling him that he was just a delivery boy and that Riku was the true Keyblade master. After leaving Sora with a wooden sword he used on Destiny Islands, he departs. And for some reason, Riku intended to prove Sora that he was the strongest, so he attacks his old friend. So Donald and Goofy go back to Sora's aid, finding themselves unable to betray Sora after all they've been through together. And with the strength of his hands, Sora reclaims the Keyblade and drives Riku to fight him. Although he was defeated, he manages to escape. He's confused to why Sora was able to regain the Keyblade. Ansem appears in his brown robe, and he was from the darkness, telling him that the only one with a stronger heart can claim the Keyblade, and Riku's was weaker within Sora. So, Riku was possessed by the dark figure, which makes his heart grow stronger. So it was revealed that Ansem possessed Riku's body. And they
he fought with Sora in the Grand Hall, and it was revealed that Sora has Kyrie's heart in her body. And for some reason, it was a very long battle. It was an eternal struggle between the two that Riku loses, and his heart is sent to the realm of darkness, where Handsome takes control. So, eventually, the overwhelming might of Kingdom Hearts envelops and destroys Ansem, allowing Riku to take back his body. He's restored in the realm of darkness, but is quickly targeted by a massive swarm of Heartless. And, fortunately, Aqua and Mickey spot him, and Aqua uses her Keyblade to restrain the Heartless, unobserved by the boy, and allowing Mickey and Riku to escape. So, they aid Sora in closing the door to prevent a horde of Heartless from crossing through. But not before Riku tells Sora to take care of Kairi. Near the top, Riku reunited with King Mickey and Diz, who reveals himself to be Ansem the Wise. Ansem is using a machine to try and encode Kingdom Hearts into data, but Xemnas confronts him and they trade bitter exchanges. The machine then explodes, unable to handle Kingdom Hearts, sending Ansem the Wise to the realm of darkness, while causing countless hearts Xemnas had collected into Kingdom Hearts to rain down on the world, creating a slew of Heartness. The explosion also cleanses Riku's heart and allows Riku to restore to his original form, though he is still remorseful. When Sora confronted Naminé, the Riku replica arrives, but Sora defeats him. And when Sora tries to help him, the replica catches Sora off guard and strikes him. He is about to move in the finishing blow, but Naminé quickly shatters the replica's false memories, knocking him unconscious. So, Larxene then arrives to finish Sora off, but she is defeated when she makes the mistake of harming Naminé and angering Sora. And after the battle, Naminé explains her actions and motivations to Sora, and expresses deep regret, thinking that he will not forgive her. But much to her surprise, Sora is completely forgiving, though he does admit that he isn't happy about what she has done. When Roxas and Riku finish eradicating the Heartless, they turn on each other for a battle, but this time, it is a struggle for Roxas even to remember Xion's name. And all he knows about her is that he wants her back. When Roxas is able to knock Riku down first, Xion then projects her words to Riku, somehow telepathically, to stop Roxas at any cost. And so he does once he removes the blindfold and transforms into Riku Ansem. Unconscious, Roxas hears Xion talking to him through his mind, telling him not to be sad, as she has become one with him and Sora, and that soon Roxas will also join them. Despite the fact that memories of Xion have been forgotten by everyone, she tells him that she still has her own memories, so she doesn't mind that he has forgotten her, as she won't forget him or Axel. As Riku knocks him out, Roxas's last memories of Xion fade away. At the Keyblade Graveyard, Xion accompanies the real organization when they confront the Guardians of Light, and pairs with Saïx to fight Leah and Kairi. Saïx subtly tries jogging Xion's memory by saying Axel and Roxas's names. When Xemnas appears and attempts to kill Leah, Xion intervenes. Stirred by this, Roxas's heart calls out to her via Sora, causing Xion to waver further, eventually leading to the present-day version of her heart, leaving Sora's to inhabit the replica vessel and displace the past version back to its proper time. With the release of Xion's heart, the memories of those who knew her return, causing Leah to remember their friendship when he was Axel. Shortly afterward, Xemnas' imperilment of Xion and Sora triggered Roxas's heart to fly to his waiting vessel, allowing him to stop Xemnas from executing her and Leah. So, Xion, Roxas, and Sora then battle and defeat Saïx. Speaking of Saïx, however, when Leah rushes over to Saïx, he admits his feelings of jealousy towards Leah's friendships with Roxas and Xion and reconciles with Leah before fading away to oblivion. For Axel, he makes one final appearance before Roxas immediately after Roxas's mental battle with Sora. The two discuss their fate and they talk about the good times they shared with each other. and Axel gives a final farewell to his best friend before shedding a tear as his body and soul reunite with his heart at Radiant Garden, reviving Leah. This one is the most tragic of all. Ken was in a coma where memories of his brother and the Digivice and his first trip to the digital world randomly surface in his mind. As he is awakened, he develops amnesia and cannot recognize his parents. In a dazed state, he later travels to the digital world and wanders aimlessly before finding himself in the primary village. There, he is forced to remember his malicious actions by the baby Digimon, who angrily recalled the abuse he inflicted. And after crying out apologies in hysterics, realizing how truly sorry he is, Ken is reunited with Leafmon, the baby form of Wormmon reborn. He returns home, finally realizing he has those who love him, and that he has a chance to set things right.
After saving Hummy from Mephisto's minions, Eileen broke her transformation as a cat and became a human being. And now she has become Kirby. She ran away from Holly and Kirsten because she can't refuse to join because of her actions. However, in the next episode, she joins the team and shedded happy tears.
That's right, Hanyu.
Anyway, this I don't think so!
After Deku saved me from Kai Chisaki's clutches and accidentally almost turning him into a baby, or a zygote, a few moments later at the beginning of October, a couple days after my hospitalization, I wake up, albeit still in a psychologically unstable state. For this reason, Deku and the others were still forbidden to see me face to face. My horn, where my quirk had came from, had noticeably shrunk to the size of a lump when my fever went down. At the hospital, Deku and Mirio were finally able to see me. Before Deku and Mirio enter my room, one of the nurses asks if it is safe for them to be around me. To which the doctor states that my energy level is safe, and thus my quirk will not spiral out of control. So Deku apologizes to me for being unable to see me earlier, when Mirio gives me a basket of fruit. Even though he saved me, I do not know Deku's name, which surprises Deku, but he informs me anyway.
It's all my fault. All the terrible stuff that happened. I'm so sorry.
I apologize to them for all the trouble for my sake. However, I was unaware that Sir Night Eye has passed away. I was guilty that Mirio had lost his quirk because of me. But Mirio tells me that I am not to blame, and I should be glad that I'm safe. And it comforts me. I tried to smile, but I'm not able to do so. And Deku is aware that I have not recovered from my psychological abuse from Kai.
I know that you lost your power because you were protecting me, Lemillion.
But suddenly, Deku has an idea and asks Shota if I can come to this school festival. Mirio then explains to me that the festival is the UA house, where there will be a lot of events on display where people can enjoy themselves while tasting delicious food, such as my favorite, candy apples. That caught my attention. As Shota phones Nezer to get his approval, Deku asked me about his idea. And I really want to get to know the people who saved me, and I agree to go to the school festival. And at the festival, Mirio and I are enjoying the show, which Class 1A has set up, and I'm so happy when I see Deku perform as the ghost of Kai, who leaves me finally. I laugh for the first time and I cheer with the audience, all thanks to Fumikage Tokoyami, Tsukiyomi, and Shadow. And I continue, and later on, I spoke to Deku and I state that I enjoyed the performance, but I didn't get the candy apple. However, my disappointment turns to joy when he offers me one, as he stated that he got the recipe and made one for himself. And because of it, I'm so happy, and I enjoy my gift. And during November, Deku is shocked to see me in the Class 1A dorms with Shota and the Big Three. Later, Shota reveals that she will be living on campus in the faculty dorms, and my horn has started to grow a little bit. And Mirio explains that the source of my quirk, my horn, is growing back slowly, which is another reason I was transferred to UA. I will transfer to Masagaki Primary Elementary School and I will start in the 2nd grade. So please wish me luck for that.
Let me explain our old friend Sarah in episodes 35, 47, 51, and 61 of our show prior to the event. Let's go!
Sarah was in love with Harumitsuki when she was 15 due to him leaving without saying goodbye. She cried and was heartbroken. She kept her dark emotions all to a clamshell, but when the Indian mermaid family found out about her true identity, realizing her dating secret, negative energy from the shell emerged, and it turned her hair black and it caused her pearl to go crazy, and this caused her own kingdom to be destroyed, as well as killing her own parents and family, except me, and she was also responsible for the murder of Kaito's parents. As a result, I tried to cheer her up, but then...
Renee! Let go! Don't touch me! I'm not kidding! Stay out of my way! Please!
This caused her to date Kaito and date him, and share their first kiss.
Meanwhile at Daitao's castle,
I had found Taro safe and sound, and Sarah was about to sing, and then...
So, let's continue and talk about our old pal, Mikaru Amagi.
how did Mikaru get a redemption arc?
When Kaito refuses her, her reaction is far different. She is so angry and sad that she starts to break things and she cries in her room, singing her theme song. Mikaru is the girl who finds Kaito after he had lost his memories. She's rich yet desperately lonely. So she falls madly in love with Kaito, and Mikaru is desperate that Kaito returns her feelings, and Mikaru also seems to be a sickly girl, collapsing to the floor every time Mikaru appears or disappears, or pretends to be when Kaito is near Lucia. In the second to last episode of our series, we fought Mikaru and Mikaru, and everyone else was reborn.
Unfortunately for Mikaru!
Her memories were wiped clean and she had to start over into a new life. It's very sad, really. For Jack, after 15 years into the future, between losing his father's sword, the only means of killing Aku, and all known means of return to the past being destroyed, Jack has become delusioned with the idea of ever completing his quest. He's emotionally vulnerable, showing signs of the post-traumatic stress disorder as he is often haunted by hallucinations of his family and the people of his past, constantly asking him why he didn't return to save them. And also, in Jack vs. the Daughters of Aku, Part 1, his mind manifests a hallucination of Mad Jack, demanding that Jack give up and end his constant suffering, which means Jack is contemplating seppuku, traditional Japanese suicide, in this episode. Despite his weariness and seeming lack of hope, Jack refuses to surrender, continuing his quest to save people from Aku's tyranny whenever possible.
At the same time, he also becomes open-minded with technology, in which he begins to utilize high-tech weaponry, explosive and riding a motorbike. Despite many decades of training and fighting as the ultimate warrior and his seamless endless journey hardening through his overall outlook, Jack's general nature is rather still inexperienced, and having never directly taken the life of a human being or sentient alien, he is able to distance himself from the knowledge of all the robots and androids he has destroyed by nothing that they are just nuts and bolts. However, upon actually killing such a being, one daughter of Aku, he was left horrified at the sight. However, he later comes to terms with his first kill after memory of remembering his father's word of wisdom, and is able to handle killing the remaining daughters of Aku. Despite this, he still likes the notion of having to kill unless absolutely necessary, and will never harm an innocent. Jack at the same time has become more easily angered and mad due to Mad Jack's influence after Aku destroyed the last time portal. This causes him to become easily more annoyed, aggressive, and angered. He eventually let go of his greed and anger as a test of the gods Odin, Ra, and Rama in order to become worthy of using his katana again. I'm really sorry.
For Ashi, she got a 2-episode redemption arc, and in the first one we noticed that she was a brainwashed child that had no childhood, and she had a constant inner fight for believing or not believing in Jack's attempts of showing her the true face of Aku. And the second part of her redemption shows Ashi's wish to change her life and see what Aku has done to the world. And after all of that, Ashi becomes Jack's best friend, his permanent sidekick. And she believes that hope for destroying Aku still exists, even if she saw the destruction he did. And the difference between her and Jack is that she doesn't focus on only the bad things Aku's done, but she also sees the good stuff Jack done. In Florida, Raphael confronts Mai Valentine after she was freed from the Orichalco's influence and arrived to defeat Darts and free Joey's soul. Despite Mai's efforts, Raphael beats her and captures her soul. He then duels Yugi again in order to take his soul, this time playing the seal himself. After Yamayuki defeats Guardian Eidos, Raphael calls for Guardian Dreadsight. Raphael proceeds to sacrifice his monsters like Yamayugi did in the previous duel. Yamayugi plays Underworld Circle, sparking a vision of Raphael's past that snaps him out of control of the Seal of Orichalcos. After Dreadsight was destroyed, Raphael concedes defeat by using Soul Charge to revive all of his monsters and depletes his own life points as a symbolic apology to him. And afterwards, the seal attempts to take his soul, but his stone shatters and he's freed. It's because that he has no negative emotions within him upon his defeat, and the seal could not take his soul. And when the building starts collapsing, Raphael hangs on an edge and gives Yamayuki a computer chip with a map to Darts' lair before he seamlessly falls down. And he rescues Mai and Valen from the collapsed building and confronts Darts, who confesses that he was the one responsible for sinking the luxury cruise that he and his family were on, and for the suffering he and his friends had experienced all along. And after this revelation, Raphael finally saw that Yugi was right and that Darts was the true evil, and as a result, he was shocked, distraught, and angered, and he used his remaining strength to materialize Guardian Eidos to attack Darts, but Darts ended up taking his soul, and he was set free along with Darts' prisoners at the end of the chapter. Alistair was involved in 2 duels, both against Seto Kaiba, and Alistair disguised himself as Maximilian Pegasus and challenges Kaiba. Halfway through the duel, Alistair pulls off his disguise and reveals his true identity and motivation after Kaiba deduces that he's not the real one. And it ends in a draw, the first one. But the second one, he disguised himself as a pilot and takes off with Kaiba on board. Halfway through the flight, Alistair puts the plane on autopilot and challenges Kaiba once more. When Kaiba gained the upper hand, Alistair decided not to end his turn because the seal would absorb all 3 of them if the plane crashed. In the end, Alistair fails to battle due to Kaiba using Fanga Critias to win the duel, and the legendary dragons
the plane. And as the seal takes his soul, Alistair sees goodbye as his brother and gives him his brother's Dude action figure before collapsing. Once Valen lost the duel against Mai, he admits that he drops to one knee in exhaustion and remains conscious just long enough to entrust Joey in rescuing Mai from her own fears. He then collapses and the seal takes his soul. His image appears on a tablet in Dart's temple to signify his capture, and the image shows him in the same kneeling state with a solemn expression on his face. It's noteworthy that of all of his combativeness and defiance in the past, he and Joey are the only two characters whose soul carvings do not predict them panicking at their imprisonment. Mai goes to him and shows great concern for him, but quickly regains her composure and deems him as of being weak. And this acts as the final straw for Joey, and he challenges her to a rematch to dispel the changes to her heart. Valen's soulless body, along with Mai's, is rescued by Raphael, and they are both restored when Darts is defeated. He regains consciousness in a seaside house and realizes that Mai was there also when he sees that she left him one of her Cypher Harvey cards. To the point, you might have noticed that Vivian had a fierce rivalry with Rebecca Hawkins for Yugi's affections, and has even gone so far as to blackmail Yugi into dueling her outside the contest, threatening to leave Solomon with an injured back if he did not accept. If she won, then Yugi would have to go on a date with her however, she lost all her duels, and she eventually had her redemption. And finally, Rebecca encountered Yugi as he returns from Duel's Kingdom, and she accused Solomon of stealing her grandfather's prized Blue Eyes White Dragon and demanded he duel for it. When asked about how she knew that Solomon stole the card, she replied that Bandit Keith told her, and she was recently discharged from the hospital. Solomon cannot duel, so Yugi dueled Rebecca in his place. And while they dueled, Solomon recounted how he met Arthur, an archaeologist who believed in the ancient Egyptians and played an ancient form of duel monsters, so his colleagues laughed at his strange ideas. He set out an expedition with Solomon to find proof, and they were trapped when a tomb caved in, and they were there to find enough supplies for one person to live. They dueled for them. Now Rebecca and Yugi are fighting, card for card, the very same duel. Solomon claims he knows how it will end. Rebecca discarded various monsters to her graveyard to power up her Shadow Gold monster, and Yugi conceded defeat. Rebecca demanded the card, but Solomon reveals it was destroyed. So an angry Rebecca yells at Solomon, unaware that it was Seto Kaiba that destroyed it until Arthur arrived telling her to behave. And he showed Rebecca the card Yugi had drawn before he forfeited. That card was Soul Release, which would have allowed Yugi to remove 5 monsters from her graveyard, which would have just weakened Shadow Gold just enough for Yugi's Dark Magician to destroy it. Yugi admitted that he surrendered was on purpose, just as his grandfather did to let Arthur take the rest of the water they had when they were rescued. So he was grateful that he gave his Blue Eyes White Dragon card to Solomon. After learning the story, Rebecca quickly apologized for being mean to Yugi and not listening to his side of the story. So, Yugi gave Rebecca his ties of friendship as a reminder for this lesson, and she kept it ever since. I can't believe I'm going to say this again, but I understand that Chloe bullied Baronet since elementary school, and she has created a trauma by humiliating her so that she'll not have OMGD anymore. Not asking guys out anymore to go out with them that caused her to have Hinata Ochaku syndrome, aka Alexa Nicholas syndrome, which made her look like Porky Pig from Looney Tunes, and also Ezra Wise said on his live stream by Kelsey, aka Angry and Aggressive, that fans were crying out for Season 3 redemption arc, but they don't know one thing. When Chloe shows kindness, she messes that up. But when you have a character like Zoe, who is like Kairi, Kiara, and Karina from Tokyo Mew Mew New, and who is perfect to get the Miraculous when she returns, without nothing else in return, she's better. So now that the fans will give Deneen some peace with giving Sayla some peace and understanding. And we all hope you understand until we get to derision. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. What do you think? If you appreciate it, please be sure to super smash that like button. And be sure to follow my social media platforms in the description below and Team Life Light's fandom channels. Please be sure to leave a comment below and please give us your open-minded thoughts. Because we here at Team Life Light's fandoms do not condone harassment, violence, or trolls allowed. Or otherwise, Red Howick from Comedy Central's The Ren and Stimpy Show will haunt you down till the ends of the Shadow Realm. Please be sure to subscribe to our videos and click the notification bell. You'll never miss a video the second it goes live on YouTube and Google. With that being said, thanks for watching and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye!